Hello everyone, welcome to 29th Film Fest Hamburg. My name is Anselm and I'm glad to have director Omar El Zohairy. Congratulations to your first feature film.
Thank you. Thank you.
You studied directing in Cairo, you made 2 short movies, and now Feathers is your first feature film, which won the grand prize at Cannes Critics Week. In Feathers, the mother is suddenly urged to be the leader of the family, and we can see her struggle about it. I really like the ambiguity about the movie, that there's lots of ways to interpret the story. You could say it's critical to society or revealing Egypt society's attitude towards women's rights, for example. Or it's a feminist movie, maybe. Would you share these opinions?
I think I share a little bit the idea of having different interpretations for the film depending on your impression as an audience. Well, my intention was to tell the story of the character, but not from my point of view, but through her point of view, or from her point of view. So our character in the film, she is not aware of what she is doing, but she is just reacting to what's happening in her life. So our interpretations are open. It depends on your, let's say, impression on the film. And this was intentional a little bit. Like when you read a book, you create your own perception about the story. And this was one of the main things that I tried to do in this film. So you can say whatever you want on the film. You can say it's feminist. You can say it's a humanist film. More, you can say it's. My personal preference is it's just a film about this character, without labeling any special label like feminist or not, or It's always depending on the impression of the audience, which is good for me because it creates a strong bond between the audience and the film.
Your hero or an anti-hero, or how could we characterize her?
She is an anti-hero that looks ordinary, as you said. And for me, it's an anti-hero. She's an anti-hero trying to survive. And what I try to do in the film is to do a kind of a hack with the audience in the beginning. She looks very passive. She's very anti-hero, as you said. And then she turns totally to a very strong woman, but without being aware, which is more stronger because it's more authentic coming from her heart, She was not trying to prove anything to us, With many films, the characters are trying to show to the audience by many means, by acting, by the story itself. In our film, it's totally different. We decided to follow the character in her life and trying to observe with her what she is facing in her life. And then we judge at the end that she is okay. She was very passive, and at the end, she's not at all. So we can say it's a survival story of an anti-hero.
We follow the actions that come directly from her and not what is outside to her. At some point, I read that you built your story like a poem. Could you explain this a little bit more?
Yeah, it's a matter of how you decide all the decisions while directing the film. So I had this freedom of dealing with the film by poetry, as I said. And the way I made the film, like how I choose my actors, it's just depending on my impression and intuition. I don't use techniques, special acting techniques to choose my actors, or they are non-actors. So I do what I feel, and then how I create my shots is depending on the impression of every shot. So when I think about a shot or a scene, I think from too many like from a poetic point of view, because I believe that you can have, if you have a visually let's say impressive images beside the story, it will make it more stronger. And this is what I did. I was thinking about every single shot, how this shot can give an impression to the audience, um, from the beginning to the end. And that's how I dealt with it as a visual poet, you know, as I was dealing with every shot as if it's a single painting, and the painting has layers and things and emotions. So it was like that, even the very simple shots.
Mm-hmm. And there are several shots as well who are repeating, but in a slightly different way. Maybe that's also part of that concept. And I think, yeah, that I think it gives it a very nice rhythm, yeah, for the whole narration. You don't use a classical strategy to enter a scene, but you have very fixed frames and static frames, and it seems like you jump in and out, like you have sudden cuts into the scene and to another scene. Did you consider this already while writing your book, and how did it influence your screenwriting?
Yeah, I always play with time in my films, and for me, the cut is the main factor to create the tempo. So the idea is to create kind of a pressure on my character from the beginning to the end. So every shot in the film is a jump in the time. The time is passing by every cut, and this roughness of the cuts are very rough and very firm in your face. This thing uh, kind of wakes you up all the time while watching the film, and it makes you concentrate more on what's really happening on every single shot. It grabs your attention than having the very smooth cutting or transitions. What is also important to me is was having the camera kind of fixed, and you don't know exactly where the camera is. It was part of the design of the film to forget the camera, because when you move the camera, you feel the camera. So I wanted to forget the camera to let the audience create their own story, as you said. You know, it was part of this recipe to give more space to the audience to create what we want, and that's why
let them just act, right?
Yeah, and to deal with what's happening as if it's real life, and we left the camera. That's why in the film you can see the actors doing some mistakes, or we look at the camera, or the do like. I kept this because it gave kind of a real like a feeling of life feeling. You know, it's more alive than a very choreographed or designed film. In fact, all the film is not real. All the most this is not real. All what happened was created from scratch. It's not real locations. Nothing is real. But what's happening inside was real. You know. So this was the mix between the camera and the life in the film. All the actors were non-actors, and there was no acting in the film. There was no the traditional acting like other. There was no characters preparations or reading the script or all that. It was just I was just creating atmosphere, and I was making it very simple to the non-actors. And even for the kids, for them it was just a game. You know, they just played in front of the camera, and they didn't understand exactly what we were doing. But I was giving them a very simple script, but without reading it, by just like telling them the story of the film by mouse, as if I'm telling them a story. And I made it very simple. That's why, for example, most of the scenes I let them, okay, you can go and eat now, you can go and dance, you can go and and then I pick up the point, the moment that I want in the editing, as if it's real life. In some scenes, I was very specific with the actors, but I didn't push them to be professional actors. I don't want them to act like actors. I just want them to be themselves. And the most difficult part was to find the people, but not to direct them, because directing them was just leaving them as they are, but finding them was the most difficult part. It took us a lot of time to find the people.
Would you say that even now, after your first movie, you somehow found your visual and narrative style, which you want to keep on, or do you think you will experiment in your next movies and try different styles of storytelling?
I think the way I'm working is I'm not obsessed by style itself. As you said, I prefer more to experiment for every single project depending on the project. what I can say is my style is how I think about the films, but not from a stylistic point of view, but from my relationship with the projects as a director or a filmmaker. I always think through my heart. I always think through my impression, my intuition, but not from a planned, proper technical point of view. So I don't plan myself. I just leave myself to life, and then I get ideas and I see how it will develop with time. And that's how I made this film, because it's a bit different from my short films. So I always develop myself by leaving myself to the surprises of life, and that's why I'm interested to see what will happen in the future.
All the best for you, and yeah, hope to see more of you in the future.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.